Who out here had Beyblades growing up?
That's why he's the GOAT!
Today, chat, we gonna be reacting to the Beyblade that traumatized a whole generation. I know today, in like the past 10 or so years, we done had like them plastic ones that's kinda heavy, but they really not. But before those even came into existence, I remember when the heavy, like metal ones came out. Me and my brother would Beyblade in the foyer all the time, cause the surface was smooth. That's the arena that we had, cause we didn't have no Beyblade arena. And to be honest, I don't even think you would want them type of Beyblades in an arena, cause you can get hurt. You get hit with those original Beyblades, you might be in the hospital. I think that's the reason why they switched over. And speaking of getting put in the hospital, there's a lot of Beyblades that traumatized an entire nation. One Beyblade in particular that a certain man with white hair and a certain voice holds to this day. I think y'all know who I'm talking about. Ryuga. Now, I don't know if this video is gonna actually say something about Ryuga, but we're gonna have to see.
Perfect!
Plastic generation released in 1999 to our current Beyblade generation, Beyblade X. With over 25 plus years of history, the franchise has introduced countless iconic Beyblades that are so iconic that just hearing a single word is enough to make 90% of fans think of a specific Beyblade.
When you think of Pegasus, who do you think of? Jenga. When you hear of El Drago, who do you think of?
For example, if I were to say jumping Beyblade, most people would think of the notorious Storm Capricorn for its infamous jumping ability. Or if I even mention left spin, people would automatically think of the El Drago lineage.
El Drago.
But there's one Beyblade that didn't need a special gimmick or flashy tricks to be remembered, because it was the definition of stamina. It didn't jump, it didn't spin left, and it didn't need to, because this one did something far worse. All it did was spin. It just kept spinning and spinning, so much that people who experienced battling this Beyblade for the first time had some sort of war story. Now imagine being 12 years old, the Beyblade champion of your school. Earth Eagle's been carrying you all day, outspinning absolutely everyone, and of course, you're feeling quite unstoppable. Then a random kid shows up, a new face, new Beyblade. Never seen it before, but whatever, Earth Eagle's got this. First battle, you lose. Weird. Second battle, loss. 5 battles in, you still haven't won once. You switch combos, nothing. 10 more matches, still getting wrecked. You even try an attack combo, hoping to break through, but it only gets worse. Especially because he had this stadium. This wasn't just a loss, this was pure humiliation. A Beyblade that haunted every kid it faced. And the worst part? You had no idea why. You've never seen this Beyblade before, but you're just always losing to it. How does one Beyblade beat every single combo that I came up with? In this video, we're diving deep and giving your 12-year-old self some closure. So what was this Beyblade? The one that made every 12-year-old desperate to
Okay, what was it and where is it from? Because I don't know who this Beyblade is.
own it right after suffering a devastating loss. That Beyblade was Phantom Orion.
Oh, Phantom Orion. Wait. I'm jogging my memory. Hold up. Was this in the Metal series? I don't remember. Jog my memory.
When Phantom Orion launched on September 17, 2011, it made
Yup. Metal Fury. Yup, the series that it was in, that it debuted in.
immediate waves in the Beyblade community due to its build. To give some context, Takara Tomy, the company behind Beyblade, often designed releases with a sense of thought and balance behind it. Typically, one part of a Beyblade like the fusion wheel and or the tip would be strong enough to compete at a high level of its own, but it would also be paired with other parts that were just quite average. This created a sense of fairness to each stock combo while still offering standout components. But Phantom Orion was different. It was probably one of the most overpowered stock Beyblades ever released because of how every single one of its parts, from its unique 4D tip to its intricate fusion wheel, helped it achieve the highest stamina potential in the game, giving it the ability to spin over 7 minutes on record, which is more than 2 times the average spin duration of any Metal Fight Beyblade. Which is absolutely crazy, because as a kid back in 2012, online shopping wasn't as accessible,
That's a
which
fact.
meant that we only had Beyblades purchased from local retailers like Walmart or Target.
Yep.
The issue was, Hasbro was in control of Beyblades back then, and the only ones in store were Beyblades from the first 2 seasons of Beyblade,
Yep.
which were heavily outdated compared to what the Japanese people had access to.
Heavily.
But if you managed to somehow convince your parents to buy you a Beyblade off the internet to get access to Phantom Orion, you are practically unstoppable. But before we move on, let's talk about today's.
Nah, hell nah, buddy. Nah, hell nah. They not paying me.
So how exactly does Phantom Orion's kit synergize together to create such a monster in the stamina field? Well, let's first dissect its combos, starting with its fusion wheel, Phantom. But before we dive into the specifics of the Phantom Wheel, let's quickly go over what actually makes a fusion wheel excel in stamina in the first place. You see, stamina-based fusion wheels succeed through physics, specifically something called moment of inertia, which is just a fancy way of saying that the more weight that's pushed towards the outer edge of the wheel, the better it can maintain its spin. Kind of like an ice skater, when they extend their arms, they spin slower but for longer. The same principle pretty much applies to Beyblade. And in Beyblade, they tried to implement this in many fusion wheels, for example, Burn or Flame, where a good chunk of the metal is extended outwards to help maintain its spin. Phantom Orion basically utilized that concept, but also took that to a whole new level. Since Phantom Orion utilized the 4D wheel concept, its wheel naturally consisted of 2 separate parts. But unlike the other wheels, it completely changed the material of the core of its wheel to plastic and distributed all of its metal and weight onto its metal frame, which was a total game changer. By making the center lighter and keeping all of the weight on the edge, it maxed out its spin potential. No other Beyblade at that time had done that. Phantom Orion's wheel was literally just a metal ring. And not to mention, this wheel also had 2 different modes. By flipping the metal frame, you can switch between 2 modes called Stamina and Attack mode. In Stamina mode, its center of gravity drops lower and the 2 sides open up to reveal a face-like pattern. This is usually the mode people utilize as it's the best performing out of the 2. However, if you decided to utilize its Attack mode by flipping the metal ring, it would expose some rigid and jaggy textures that would slightly provide it some more recoil, which in hindsight gave it some more versatility, but wasn't that much stronger of a contender. Overall, the Phantom Wheel itself was already a top part for maximizing any Beyblade stamina. No other fusion wheel was on par with its standalone spin time. But the funny thing is, the other part of Phantom Orion's kit was probably even more influential to this Beyblade's success in having high stamina. And this part was Phantom Orion's 4D tip called Bearing Drive. And just like the name suggests, it uses an internal bearing system that allows the tip to spin independently from the rest of the Beyblade. This massively reduces the friction that a typical tip would receive from interacting with the stadium.
Oh, okay, I get it, okay. If the outer ring gets hit, it does not affect the tip because the tip is its own spinning ring. Okay.
For example, in this clip, you can see how the bottom of the portion of this tip starts to come to a halt as this Beyblade starts to slow down to spin on its bearing. And because of this, Bearing Drive allowed you to get an insane amount of spin time on the stadium. So when you put all of that together, a perfectly optimized fusion wheel built to optimize and conserve its spin rotation and a 4D tip designed to minimize friction as much as possible, you get a combo that was practically built to spin forever. But to truly understand how strong this Beyblade was, let's take a look at its matchups. First up, we have defense types. Defense types were probably Phantom Orion's easiest matchup. In no case could a typical defense type knock out Phantom Orion or outspin it. This was just an industry norm, and the result is always expected to be a Phantom Orion win. Now, for stamina types, Phantom Orion was simply the king of stamina types. No other Beyblade could come close to its standalone spin time. It was genuinely a game changer when this Beyblade came out. And people often talk about the first time they ever witnessed this Beyblade. Opponents would bring their stamina combos to try and keep up, but it never worked. They would genuinely have to rely on stamina's biggest counter to stand a chance, which was attack types. Which was just how the balance of Beyblade works. But even though this was considered to be its hardest matchup, it rarely actually struggled against attack types due to the multiple various reasons. Phantom Orion also had one more subtle but important trick hidden in its bearing drive tip. When the bearing drive tip tilts in battle, more of the free spinning plate makes contact with the stadium floor. The increased surface contact causes the free spinning plate to slow down, which shifts Phantom Orion to spin onto the bearing core, which then also changes its movement pattern as a result. Instead of spinning smoothly in place, it's able to start rocking side to side. And here's where that matters. If an attack type hits Phantom Orion when it's tilted like that, the rocking motion actually helps absorb some of the impact. Rather than flying straight out in the direction of the hit, Phantom Orion can shift its momentum slightly and redirect the force. It's kind of like when someone falls from a height. If they just land stiff, they're more likely to get hurt, but if they roll with the fall, they spread out the impact and come out way better.
So it's not unbeatable. It's just a lot harder to beat than most Beyblades. Okay.
Phantom Orion does the same thing. Instead of taking a direct hit and flying out, that rocking motion helps it roll with the blow and stays in the stadium. This made Phantom Orion quite decent against attack types. Instead of being a sitting duck like how most stamina types would be, it had its own ability to fight back against its biggest counter. And that's what made Phantom Orion stand out. Phantom Orion wasn't just good, it was in a league of its own. In many ways, Phantom Orion set the gold standard for what a stamina type could be, and its legacy could still be seen in modern designs such as the newer releases in Beyblade X with Wizard Rod. And even in competitive Beyblade, you'll see Phantom Orion's parts being used everywhere. Bearing drive is in almost everybody's deck as it's the best 4D stamina tip out there. The Phantom Wheel is also often utilized in niche tornado stalling combos due to its great weight distribution. In retrospect, Phantom Orion was exactly what you'd expect the most optimized stamina combo to look like. But the funny thing is, even though Phantom Orion is the king of stamina type Beyblades, there is actually one stamina type Beyblade out there that doesn't have as much stamina as Phantom Orion, but nearly beats it every single time it goes against it by outspin. It's something that doesn't get talked about often, but this Beyblade in question might be regarded as the strongest stock Beyblade out there. But like always, that deserves a video of its own.
No.
So what do you guys think about Phantom Orion? What was your first experience going up against it? Because for mine, I first went up against it using the Hasbro Stadium, which had no knockouts. And my friend who had Phantom Orion would just always win because we weren't even using 4D Beyblades. Definitely traumatizing in some way. But yeah, let me know.
Nah, that's wild, bro. Taking me a little trip into the past. I think the last Beyblade anime I watched was Beyblade X, and that was the newest one, I believe. And it was actually nice. So you saying Phantom Orion was really making something shake in the real world. Okay. I thought I was gonna go into the anime. Let me know what y'all think about this video in the comment section. What Beyblade did you have? And do you have one currently to this day? Flex your Beyblades in the comment section. And until the next time, I'll see y'all in the next one. Shalom.
Oh! Hey, listen.
Rose petals on the floor. The one from my dreams, and you're with me right now. Mi corazón te quiero. Right here and now, I'll give you a taste. Snake princess, I'll be your gift. Staring in your eyes, I know that